I pull that up, is it going to fit? So what this does is it bolts on the side of the gearbox. So my friends, the sun's finally bloody come out. So much for summer in New Zealand. And we might actually be able to start doing some work on this bloody truck that I brought. I don't know if you guys seen my last video where I picked this up for a bit of a steal at the auction. Check in the description below, I'll put a link there for you. You can check that out too if you want. Let's start building up a bloody truck. So if you haven't seen my last video, I picked this up at the auction for $5,400 the other week. And the plan is to turn it into a dumpster truck. What do you reckon? We're about 3.6 meters long in the chassis, guys. And hopefully this is the deck I am going to put on it. Turn it into a hydraulic dumpster truck. We got twin rams here. So I actually imported this deck into the country. I bought it on a wrecked truck. Well, the truck wasn't exactly wrecked, but it was an old bloody truck out of Japan. So what I did is I bought it from an auction site in Japan, and then I shipped it here, and then I pulled the deck off it, and I pulled the motor out of the truck and sold the motor and the gearbox and some other bits and pieces. Because all I really wanted was this deck, because they're pretty hard to get in New Zealand. You can get the bigger ones, but you can't get like the 3 or 4 ton lift ones, something this size, if you know what I mean. And this is ideal for me because what we do is we do a lot of we call them skips in New Zealand. We do a lot of dumpsters because we got a lot of infill housing here, and the driveways are really small, so you need a small truck with a reasonable size dumpster on the back of it that you can get around Granny's clothesline, and you can get around the back and into all these infill houses. The Japanese version suited me really fine because there's no bloody room in Japan either in the big cities. So what they do is they make these quite small trucks that can lift quite a bit, and they're really maneuverable. So anyway, that's how I ended up buying a deck out of Japan, because a lot of people in the comments are going to say, Pete, why didn't you just buy one here? Well, that's the reason. And another reason is, if I was to buy this new here, it would cost me about $45,000 for just a deck like this. So my theory was, if I bought the truck, I could get some money from the truck, the motor, the gearbox, the chassis, and then I could get the deck that I wanted, and it should almost pay for itself. This is the auction where I bought it from in Japan. So this is the site that I used to use. It's Integrity Exports. So they're based in Japan. They buy the vehicles for you, and then they arrange all the shipping and everything else. This is what I brought a couple of 3 or 4 years ago. This one here, you can see here, you can see all the damage on the vehicles. They're pretty good at telling you what's wrong with it if you can read Japanese. But of course I can't read Japanese, even after a few beers. So I get a translation done for me. So here we go. Can I have a translation on this one, Stephen? Grade is R, which is rubbish, which is basically knackered. R is pretty bad in Japan. Interior C, exterior E, first registered December 1998. Arm roll model, which is a hook deck, which is what I call a hook deck, which is a skip truck. So even old ones like this in Japan, they're still worth quite a bit of money. Because like I said to you, even to buy a new, just the deck here is about 45 grand for a little one that size. So, you know, it's cost a lot of money. KC code, 5-speed manual gearbox, air conditioning, 3-seater, first time in auction, power steering, power windows, width of vehicle is 1.69 meters. In other words, it's a narrow cab, specialist container vehicle, so it's a hook lift. So anyway, the starting bid on this was 150,000 yen. See, the start price is 150,000 yen. And the kilometers are 324,000. So there's no way, even back then, I could get this on the road here because it wouldn't pass the admissions and anything else. So I just bought it solely for parts. And by the time I stripped it out and sold the cab, the motor, the gearbox, the chassis, you know, I did come out about even, and I basically got the deck for free. So there you go. Because these are still worth quite a bit of money, I said go to 700,000 Japanese yen, raw. That's just the raw price at the auction. So confirmed for me, brought for 699,000 yen. So the shipping price to get it to Littleton, this is my nearest port, was 860,000 yen. 860,000 yen is 9,732 bucks. Right, so this is the actual back of the beast. I actually got this container with it as well, because that hook bin, even you might not believe this, but even that hook bin, because they're really well made, and it's only surface rust. To get that made here is about 5 grand, if not more, in New Zealand. And they're good bins, they've got double locks and all sorts of crap. So I got the bin with it, even though it's a little bit rusty. And then I got the hook deck, and then I just sold the rest of it. See here, guys, she's pretty well banged up, isn't it? She's all beaten up, but served my purpose anyway. Got myself a cheap deck. So what we've got to do is put this onto this, and then somehow hook up the hydraulics to make the whole bloody thing work. Because I'm going to plasma cut the chassis down a bit, what we need to do is disconnect the bloody batteries, otherwise it's going to fry the computer, and the computer's going to be rooted, and we don't want that. Have you ever welded or plasma cut on a modern truck? I tell you what, it's a trick for young players if you don't disconnect the batteries first. What I'll do is I'll even take the earth off, because I don't trust it. Nothing worse than frying your bloody computer. Alright, here we go. We are totally disconnected from the truck. So they've got some temporary tail lights on this, so what we'll do is we'll just take them off. Whole lot of wiring here. So we've got one big plug here. Just take them off, unclip that. Yeah. They've riveted it on, so we'll just unrivet it. More than one way to skin a cat. Get rid of this. Oh shit. Holy crap. And I've fed the wires through. Why would you do that? Why would you do it that way? Really? Take it out from the other end as well. I think, oh, it's going to be easier. Look at that. Why the hell would you wire it like that for? Well, see, I can't get this wire out until I undo all these individual ones. I mean, that's what this one plug is for. I don't know why the hell I've done that. Weird, man. Now what, we'll just leave that there. So what we're going to need to do is have the bin when it's pulled on the truck as close as possible to the back of the cab so we get the weight distribution right. So I'm going to have to cut about 600 off the length of the chassis, I think. So let's measure it. To about here. So we are, yeah, I wasn't far wrong with the 600, guys. Double check that measurement from the end. Just under 600. Just under 600. So to make the chassis cut, I'm using my favourite Bestark BTC 500 DP plasma cutter. It's really awesome and it's really cheap. Costs about the same as a big angle grinder. But if you only had an angle grinder, that would probably work too. It might just take a little bit longer. Let's put them like that. Use the square as a guide. Well, hell, that sure beats a bloody angle grinder. Now let's do the other side. Yeehaw! If you're interested in buying any of these tools I'm using on this project, I'll put a link for you guys in the description below. Just go and check them out. Some of them are pretty cool. So before I go dumping a new bloody deck on here, what we need to do is just get rid of the surface rust so I can spray it with some anti-rust undercoat, put a top coat on it, and then put the deck on top of it, and then we can paint the whole thing after that. It just stops the rust between the top of the chassis and the bottom of the deck. Swap the discs and we'll do the other bloody side. Running over a chassis, it just knocks the shit out of it. Yeehaw! That'll about do it, I reckon. See, it's not that bad, it's cleaned up alright. All we need to do now is put an anti-rust paint on it and we'll seal it. So I'm just going to chuck some thinners on an old rag and we'll just wipe it over and then I'll whack some undercoat on it. Just clean it up a little bit, just so my paint sticks to the very top of it before I mate up the deck. Comes off alright though, guys, and it just saves a lot of bloody hassle later from it rusting again. See, it's still got a lot of shit on there. So I bought this cute little spray gun the other day off Amazon. It was about $19 or something ridiculous. I've never used a spray gun that's fed from the top before. Mine normally got the bowl on the bottom down here. But I thought to myself, Pete, for 19 bucks, what the hell? Yeah! Right, this is a very quick dry anti-rust chassis paint. It's an undercoat, so we'll whack this on, let it dry, and then whack the top coat over the top of it, if I can get this stupid sprayer to spray. Nice and thick, just like me. I'm so excited. Pooh, stinky poo, stinky winky. What do you reckon about that little sprayer? It's pretty cool. What do you reckon? Looks alright to me. So we're in the first week of January, guys. It's supposed to be bloody summer in New Zealand. Look at this crap. This is our summertime, guys. Absolutely bloody unbelievable. I thought I was going to get this truck done in my 2 weeks off from my Christmas holidays, but it looks like I got another bloody thing coming. Anyway, guys, here's what we did yesterday. What do you reckon? Looks alright. The paint come up alright. Looks alright to me. One thing I noticed on this chassis, guys, see how it's got the raised rivets all the way along here? Now, if you have a look over here, this is what came off the original truck. It's a little plastic thing that goes in between the truck deck and the chassis, but if you notice on the new truck, the plastic rail is not going to be high enough to cover the rivets, because if I put that on top of there like that, we're going to have a gap. So I'm going to have to drill a hole through here, and the rivet is going to protrude higher than this little strip here. So what I did is I went down the local timber yard and I got a length of timber and I drilled it out where those rivets are. If you have a look here, guys, this is my lump of timber, and I just drilled out the holes, so the rivets are going to go in here. I'll show you. Look at this friggin' rivet. On the left hand side, this one peeps. See, if you have a look now, guys, you can see that that's just gives us a little bit more height, just like that. So I think we're going to have to do some work inside today. So what I'll do is I've got to paint these strips, and I've also got a couple of mud guards to do that have been out in the weather for 3 or 4 years. Here, I'll show you. These are the mud guards off this deck here. So as you can see, they've got a whole lot, even got moss growing on them, see there? And if you ever look around the back, you can see all the bloody, see all the moss and the underneath of them are quite rusty. So I thought we might do that today and keep out of the bloody weather. So I thought I'd just use my little angle grinder and a flapper disc to clean these guards up. I'd normally buy new guards, but these are quite thick and they're heavy and they're 3mm. So I really want to keep them. So if I can tart them up a bit and make them look alright, then I think we're going to use them. I've got plastic ones on my new truck and they're not that good because I tend to stand on my mud guards to put a cover over my bin, and plastic is not that good to stand on, guys. Did you see the video I did about this little angle grinder? I started off, it was a bit of a joke video to start off with because $28 is the cheapest angle grinder you can bloody get on Amazon. And of course it's Black & Decker. So I thought I'd grab one and do a bit of a spoof video about it because it was going to be totally crap. But actually it quite surprised me. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link in the description below. You can go and check that out as well. Anyway, let's try and rip some of this shit off this guard. The inside might be a bit more of a challenge. Let's have a go. God, the weather's still crap, guys. Anyway, I've Cleaned them up about as much as I can. Got most of that rust off the inside there, as you can see. It's the outside. And the lights that got in here, guys, but anyway. So let's put some undercoat on it, guys. I don't normally like spray painting inside, but as you can see, the weather today just sucks shit, eh?
We've been living in sin so long, all the fields are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day, I'm right. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. Oh.
That'll do me for the day. What do you reckon? Oh shit. Never placed a wheelbarrow, Pete. So what I've done is I've put a block of wood between the chassis and the deck. I'll just lift it up a little bit, drop it on the block of wood, readjust my jack, and then drop the whole thing down. So far, so good. Right, so we get rid of that. So what I realised, guys, is this board here that I put in between the chassis rail and the deck is too bloody high. I'll show you why. See, if we ever look down here, guys, you see here, this is where I was going to put that piece of timber in between here, but it's lifting the hook deck up too high. So what it does is it's interfering with the bolt holes in the chassis here, so it's lifting up too high and we can't put any bolts in there. So what I had to do was put a couple of plastic runners in here, so we're only lifting it up about 5 mil, and then the bolt hole should line up and we'll be away. Tighten them all up. Of course the diesel tank's half full of diesel, so it's friggin' heavy. So they go like that. One thing about it, these tank straps make it easy to get this bloody thing on and off. Oh, that's not gonna come off there. Alright, now we might have to actually bleed this because we'll let a lot of air into the diesel system, but we'll wait and see. Need some, there's a wire here that plugs in there like so. An air vent here. Which way around, does that go over the top or underneath? Underneath, I think. Hook them up there. Good connectors too. They're just sort of like snap-on connectors. They're really good. I like them anyway. Anyway, that might go underneath there, Peter. I think that's going to look better. Get in there like so. See, they're quite tight. Now like that, like so. This one here like so. And there we go. Looks alright to me. We'll zip tie them down later when we finish. Right, I might have to prime that diesel tank now. I think you know why it won't start? Because I disconnected the batteries when we plasma cutted the chassis off, remember? Oh, let's have another go. Hasn't been going for 3 weeks, sounds alright, doesn't it? We'll just wait and see if that diesel's gonna suck through or it's gonna stop, and then I'll have to prime it. Well, it kept running alright, so we don't have to bleed it. So what have we got? We've got the main bolts here done. We've got another 2 bolts here to do on the chassis. The back bolt is attached. And we have, if we have a look under here guys, we have 4 bolts here that tie up the whole back end, so we've got to do them as well. 4 on the other side, of course. We've already got this one done. Another 2 here. And this side here, I had to take the spare wheel off, and we'll put the other one here. So we're almost there. Another 12 bolts, and then I can put the mudguards on, the headlights, and then I'll have to figure out how to friggin' wire it up. If you have a look here, guys, this is the wiring loom that comes with it. So that's going to be quite interesting. Very interesting. And here's the remote. So we shall see what we shall see. So I spent half a day and I got them drilled out and inserted, and then if we come along here, you can see right at the back here guys, I've got them drilled out, and the bolts are just sitting there because we've got to put our tail light extensions on here. And I did the same on the other side, so we've had quite a good afternoon really. The rain's finally stopped here for 5 minutes. So now what I thought I would do is we'll try and attach the mudguards. That might be a bit high guys. What we need is the top of the guard level with here, so when we pull a bin on it, we're not going to hit bloody guards. Get rid of that one. Need to go a bit higher, I think. Only got 2 hands. And originally the mudguards had spacers on them, so I might use a spacer on one end. If I pull that up, is it going to fit? Of course it's not. That'd be stupid. Why would that fit, Pete? So nothing simple, is it guys? I thought I'd just put these guards on and they'd fit, but of course they don't fit, so I've got to have to re-drill out every friggin' hole. So 4 hours bloody later, I've got the guards on. I had to put a spacer up one end like here, and then the other end without a spacer. Doesn't look too bad. It's not perfect, but it doesn't look too bad. And if we come around the back, here's the other side. Once again, I had to put a spacer down there, but no spacer up the front. And this one doesn't look too bad either. Starting to look a bit like a truck. What do you reckon? Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the back mud flaps on. Tail lights bolt onto here, so if I put the mud flaps on first, then I won't be in my own way, will I? So hopefully these things will just bloody fit back on there again. Cut all the screws off and took it off the first time, so I just used the washers, I think. Stick it in there like so. These projects have a habit of taking a lot longer than what you think in the first place. I thought, oh yeah, this will take me a couple of days to do this. Mind you, I've had a lot of rain here, but even so, a lot longer than a couple of days, more like a couple of weeks. It's all very easy when you see it on video how quick they do it, but it's a little bit different when you gotta do it yourself. So I managed to get the mud guards on and the mud flaps. Doesn't look too bad for a boy actually, does it? Oh, it's starting to look like a proper truck. So what I've been doing today is mucking around with the bloody tail lights. I had to alter the bracket for the tail lights because these lights here are different to the original ones. So here's the bracket that they fit onto. The original ones had bolt holes in the bottom, so you screwed it down here and it went into the bottom of the light. These ones have bolt holes up the sides, so I had to weld another piece of steel behind it so I could actually bolt the lights to the back of it. Anywho, we'll see if it actually works. So if I stick that on there, and the bolt holes line up, so that's got to be a bonus. So this is what I ended up doing, like so. Now we've got to do the other bloody side. Let's see if the bloody thing works, eh? So what we need to do now is feed all these bloody wires here under the body of the truck and somehow get it up into the cab, which sounds pretty easy, but it's harder than what you might think. If you have a look here, guys, we've got two big plugs that plug into like a computer bloody box. See these two here? As I showed you before, we've got this computer box thing here that's got to be bolted under the dash somewhere. We've got those two big cables coming from the back that have got to be rerouted somehow under the chassis and come out under the dash there somewhere as well. We've got this control unit, which is up, down, lock, tip. That's got to also be wired up. And we've got this set of wires here that has to be wired up into a switch that I'll put on the dash. Because what I've done is I'm not using a PTO on this truck, because, you know, power takeoff on the gearbox. In fact, I think I've got one. Hold on, I'll show you. This is an old power takeoff unit off an older Isuzu truck, and it won't fit on this one. So what this does is it bolts on the side of the gearbox of your truck. The gearbox then just drives this gear wheel here, which in turn turns this shaft, which in turn you put a hydraulic pump on the back of it, which is what gives the truck hydraulics to lift the bin on and off and to tip it. Because one of these for this truck is about $1,800, just this piece here, and then the pump is about $2,200. Because this truck wasn't originally running hydraulics, we have to change the engine management system to accept a hydraulic pump, and that's probably an extra $800 to do that as well. So all in all, for a truck this age, it's just really not worth it. So what I did is I thought to myself, Pete, there's got to be a better way to do it, and this is what I come up with. So in one of my previous lives, I used to be a bloody storeman. I used to drive around a 24-volt forklift all bloody day. It used to go all day without charging it up. Mind you, it had pretty bloody huge bloody batteries on it. So I thought to myself, why can't I use that same system on the truck? I mean, after all, I'm only lifting 3,000 kilos. What's that, about 7,000 pounds? So we shouldn't need anything that ginormous. So I got onto the interweb, as you do, and I was looking for second-hand electric forklift part. And then I come across this, guys. Oh, and it's bloody heavy. Check it out. I managed to score a 24-volt motor and hydraulic pump all in one for 350 bucks. Now, for 350 bucks, I've got to give that a go, right? Check out the size of this baby. Look at this. We've got the fan on this end, and the motor goes from here to here. It's absolutely huge. About 1.5 my hand spans, and then we've also got a decent pump on the end of it. Not only that, this thing can run constantly. So in other words, if you have a look at those real cheap ones you can buy, those little 12 and 24 volt ones you can get on the like Amazon and that sort of thing, they're designed for little tip trailers to go up and down, and they're not constant use. You can't run it all the time, because to pick a bin up and drop it down, it's probably take me 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. So it's got to constantly run for 2 minutes. And those little tip deck ones are only designed to go up and down within like a matter of 30 seconds, because you'll burn them out. But this baby here is designed totally different. Now I know what you're thinking, guys. You're saying that the batteries on your truck are no way they're going to be able to run that. But I reckon they'll run it long enough for me to pick up and drop off maybe 2 or 3 bins, and then I'm driving 20 kilometres anyway to pick up the next one or drop off the next one, whatever it might be. And then my battery's time to charge up. Then I can do the next couple of jobs, and then I go on to the next one, and it should be all right. Mind you, I've said that before. Look at the size of the bloody cables on this. Now, because this thing is so heavy and it can run continuously, it uses really, really high amperage wire like this. I reckon this is going to draw about 200 amps. So there's no way I can wire this into a little switch on the dashboard to turn it on and off. So what I did was, I went back on the interweb and brought one of these. Now, this was brand new, but it was second hand. It was old stock. It's rated at 200 amp continuously. What I'm going to use this for is, I'll hook my main power wires for the hydraulic pump into these big huge terminals here, and then these 2 wires here I'll run into the cab, and I'll put a little switch on it, so when I power the little switch it will pull down the solenoid like that. It'll start the hydraulic motor without burning out the switch in the cab, which has got to be a bonus. And this baby only cost me 35 bucks. Now, instead of trying to bolt this to the side of the truck and make it look stupid, I also brought one of these. It's a toolbox that you bolt on the side of your truck. So my theory is, I'll put the pump in here, and it'll give me enough room out the front to put a cover to cover my bins with, and some tools and some other bits and pieces. And it'll also look as if it was meant to be like that. And I bought that second hand online as well. As you can see, it's got holes and that in it, but I can bung them up with some silicone or something like that. I think I paid 55 bucks for it. So let's get back to this deck wiring first. I've got to get this somehow under there, somewhere up there, right up. Somewhere there's a friggin' big grommet that I might be able to pull out and get this wiring up there. Anyway, let's have a go at feeding that bloody wire through. Right, so we ended up going from the back of the deck right down here, down, around here, zip tied it all together, up over there, up into the cab, up here. Now I had to take the headlight out so I could get my hand underneath, and we ended up coming up through here. If you have a look down there, see the hole there that we ended up coming up through. So we got our plugs inside, finally, after about 3 bloody hours. Right, I've got to put this grommet back on, and then I'll reassemble the truck again. So let's stick this thing together and see if it actually works. Now, I'm not 100% sure this is going to work, guys, but I'm just trying to save myself a lot of money putting a bloody PTO on that truck. So we shall see what we shall see. So with this pump, all we've got is a inlet, comes from the hydraulic tank here, gets sucked in this way, and a pressurised outlet this way. The motor turns the pump, pressurises the hydraulic fluid, and the theory is I should be able to lift a bloody dumpster with it. Right, so this is what we ended up with. I've got my inlet for the hydraulic fluid coming in here. I've mounted the motor and the pump. I made a bracket, just a piece of steel welded at a lump either end with a thread on it so I can pull it tight in there so it's not going to go anywhere. And then if we have a look up here, we've got the heavy power wires here going through a solenoid up here. We have the pressure end here, and we have the 2 heavy duty leads here straight to the 2 batteries. So what do you reckon? You reckon that's going to work? And I welded up this bracket here. That box should fit straight into it, and I can bolt it on the side of the truck. But as you can see, guys, it's pissing down again. So we're a couple of days later, guys, and the bloody sun's come out again. Yeah. So I've been working hard. I thought to myself, Pete, you got to get that truck finished and move on to something else. So this is what we ended up with, guys. What do you reckon? What do you reckon? What could go wrong, guys? Hey, don't look too bad for a young fella, does it? Well, hell, that was bloody disappointing. I expected more from it. So, well, I had the dashboard and everything else to pieces, so I decided I'd shout myself and put a new stereo in the truck. I could probably piss faster than this. Now I can even watch myself as I'm driving along. So, this is what we ended up with, guys. I've pulled the dashboard completely out of it, as you can see, put a new stereo in it. I think this switch here used to run the fridge on the back of it. So what I've done is I've hooked that solenoid up to this switch here. I put the remote for the deck here in between the two seats. Here's the toolbox. Here's my pump. There's enough room in front here to put my tarpaulin and that sort of stuff. So the electric motor's here, the pump's here, and if we have a look up here, you can see the solenoid here. If we come over across here, take the battery cover off. I put two big new batteries in it. We've got the positive and the negative going back to the pump. So when I turn the switch, it should start the pump. Hear it? Let's see if the basket everything works, eh? Turn the switch on, hear it start. My remote livened up. What do you reckon? I can almost hear you guys saying, Pete, that's not going to lift a full big bin of rubbish. Only one way to find out, guys. So, me has a bin of rubbish here. This is a 7 cubic metre bin. As you can see, it is full of rubbish and crap. Yeah, there wouldn't be a hell of a weight in this, probably with the bin itself and the rubbish in it. You may be 1,000 kilos, 1,200 kilos, what's that, 2,000 pounds, something like that. Only one way to find out, my friends. Looks pretty cool to me. Looks like a totally different truck, doesn't it? Hey, what do you reckon? She all looks a bit different from when I picked it up from the auction. So let's see if we can tip it. Piece of cake. Anyway, my friends, put in the comments below, what do you think of that? What sort of projects are you guys doing? I think I deserve a beer after that. This project took me a lot longer than what I really thought it would. Mind you, we had friggin' about a month of rain, so that doesn't help. Anyway, guys, like I said, put your own projects in the comments below, and we might be able to do something together on the channel, you never know. Anyway, Pete's going to have a bloody beer now. See you next time. If you're still watching me, you might want to get your tools featured on my channel. It's real easy. Just contact me at pete@petestools.com. And if you feel like buying Pete some giggle juice, check the link in the description below. And maybe I'll mention you on my next video. See you next time.